This week on the Lather Talk podcast, we have Neil Breed on from Heritage Collection Shaving. We'll talk to Neil about how he started Heritage, how he got into wet shaving, and how he discovered the love of vintage brushes. Coming right up. Hi everyone, welcome to Lather Talk. I have my co-host Gerard with me.
Hello, what's up everyone?
Hey Gerard, and then Neil Breeding from Heritage Collection Shaving.
What's up everybody? Neil
has gone and worked to recreate some of these lost brushes from yesteryear. He's doing some really great work. Neil, do you think you can share with us the story of how you got into wet shaving in the first place?
Yeah, I'd love to. Actually, the guy that got me into wet shaving was a former drill instructor in my company on Parris Island. And I reconnected through a Marine chat, I guess, group on Facebook. And he had posted one of these shave of the days, and I kept watching them over and over again. And finally, I just threw out a question. I was like, are you getting good shaves with that? And because I was an old cartridge user like everybody else was before they got into this. And I actually was shaving in the shower. I hated shaving. So he says, give me your address. So I give him my address, and all of a sudden this box shows up with a brush, a Parker Badger brush, what's the name of that? It had a bulldog handle, but a Weber razor with a bulldog handle, and some Taylor of Old Bond Street, some Bombay, and just some of your old classic stuff. So I gave it a shot, and it was the best shave that I'd had in years. And my face felt great, and I just fell in love with, the relaxing, the meditation, sit in front of the mirror. Like he put it. He said, as men, we don't pamper ourselves. He said, but why not? Why can we not take care of our grooming in a different way instead of doing it in the shower real quick? So lo and behold, he just started introducing me to the forums. I got onto Facebook. I was a little late to the game with Instagram. That just happened last year. And then I just fell in love with everything that wet shaving had to offer. But I really fell in love with the hunting of the vintage stuff. I'm just a vintage shaving guy. I have some new stuff, but I love the old vintage stuff. So that started me down a whole other path, which I'm sure we'll discuss here.
So it sounds like the chasing of the vintage items really shaped kind of your wet shaving journey. I think it's kind of interesting because as far as I know, for me and Gerard, we use, and for the most part, I think since we started wet shaving, we've used pretty modern stuff. So I think I'd love through the course of today's conversation to learn more about kind of what caught your eye. Even like I'd be really interested to know what worked as far as vintage stuff, and then what is like it's a nice set piece, but but non-functional.
Okay, so for me, the stuff that you would find in the antique stores, that's where I went. I mean, they call it the hunt, and that was the thing that really thrilled me. It was kind of like not so much an addiction, but it was just something I would do with my family on a Saturday. And you would find like the Ever Ready 200. It's looks like a hourglass shape with a little ring around it, and those were so plentiful. But it's such a bland looking brush. And then I would see on eBay these real cool looking older Bakelite brushes, but I could never find them out in the wild. So I started going down that rabbit hole and investing money in some of the Ever Ready 200 double halo ring, the first one we did. That eluded me for the longest time. And then lo and behold, when I commissioned somebody to remake that for me, well, then all of a sudden they just appeared out of nowhere on eBay, or I'd find them in the wild. And that's been a brush that really kicked it off for me. It was my first model. And the thing that frustrated me the most about it was you could spend you could really get into a bidding war, spend $60, $70 on a vintage brush. And then by the time you tear the knot out and get to drilling out the old resin and whatever it is they put in there to hold the knot in there, they crumble on you. And there you've invested $60 in your time, and you have nothing to show for it. And that happened several times to me. So I just kept saying, there's got to be a different way to do this. So I asked Leo Frillo. I don't know if you guys know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I said, can you make me a 200? And he did, and he did a great job at it. But the thing was $150, and I'm like, whoa, that's real expensive for that. But it's a hand turned, one of a kind. I get it, and they're well worth it. So I was perusing eBay about 6 months later. It was about 2 years in, year and a half, 2 years in, and I bought a brush, and then I started talking back and forth to a manufacturer, and I said, "How much would you charge me to make this brush?" And the guy said, "Do you have a sample?" I said, "Well, I don't have one. That's why I want it." And he said, "How about pictures?" So I sent him, good gosh, probably 15, 20 pictures of all the different kind. So he come back with that Eveready 200 like you see it, which is not, it's not exactly identical. The only thing that's different is the bottom part has a nice little, it juts out a little more, but that's what played into the ergonomics so well of it and made it such a better feeling brush in the hand than the original. So I kept talking to him. I said, "Can you make me another color?" "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Well, if you're so interested in these, why don't I make them for you and you bring them to market in America?" So it just kind of fell in my lap. And I said, "Okay." He said, "What kind?" I said, "What kind of money are you talking about? I mean, is there a minimum order? Because most of these places, they want you to order 200 of them at a time." I said, "I don't want to get into a big investment." So lo and behold, we talked it out in he said, "I'll make you a deal. I'll help you get started. If you're loyal to me, I'll be loyal to you. And you help me, I help you." It's been a learning experience because I've had to learn to speak Chinese in English. You know, when I speak to them at night, I've had to learn to speak like in small sound bites to get them to understand. But
Oh,
they
okay.
can interpret stuff, and they can interpret stuff, and some of them speak very good English. But the guy that makes my brushes, we communicate very well now. We've learned each other, and lo and behold, he finally said to me, "Hey, look, I'll start you out small. We'll build you up. And then if you got the ideas, we'll bring them to market. It's a win for you. It's a win for me." So we launched the 200 model. So
Mm.
then that became a success. And I only had, I think, 75 of those. I think you ordered one, didn't you, John? When I think you ordered a cream and crimson and cream. You were one of the very first crimson and cream guys.
That's right.
If I'm not
I
mistaken.
I absolutely love that brush when I saw it. I mean, in general, the Everready 200. The fact that you went with that first, that was the main vintage model that I've been chasing. And funny enough, I don't know if I told you this. I was chasing the butterscotch and black one, which you also make. The fact that you went with the Everready 200, it just hit the radar hard for for me at least. But uh,
And
I,
I was shocked.
yeah, yeah. I was actually curious though. Did you have to go through contacting multiple manufacturers before you found your guy, the one that you went with?
No, actually, it just like I said, it just fell right in my lap, man.
Okay.
And it was like a right time, right place, right person. And I said, well, this guy just decided he was going to work with me, and that's when I said, okay, this 200 has worked, and we did very well. Although we didn't sell out, we broke even. So I said, I wonder what a next one going to be. And of course, J.R. Ray's. I don't know if you know who he is. You
Hmm.
know, some of you know. Okay, so he kind of was like not really coaching me, but just said, "Hey, look," he called me up when he saw it come out and said, "Hey, this would be a good thing. You might want to really push this hard." So then I said, "All right, well, I think I'm going to do a second model." And then, of course, we did the Rays CMON, the Rays Edition CMON, and then a whole line of CMONs. But the issue with that was, John, that was so frustrating because I didn't have, again, the actual brush. And we went by pictures and measurements. So
Oh.
then I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. We're going to be using the actual brush or I'm not going to produce a model. But I got lucky with the first two because they actually look pretty decent. I mean, they're not like the CMON. It looks a lot like the CMON 77-2, which was a stubbier handle, kind of like the rubber set brush. When you get up into the 4 and the 5 and the 6, they had a longer, kind of a slender, sleek lined handle. But it took the best of all those handles and combined them into one nice little brush. In fact, I think you own one of those as well. And then we went with the Merit. And that was a challenge, a huge challenge, because where are you going to get a merit? And then who's going to risk sending a merit across the world to have them reproduce? Like when I finally got the one that I have, a $300 brush that you buy on eBay, who's going to risk that? So we did drawings, we did measurements, and we come up with that one. And that was a hit. So then I said, okay, I got the Cleanso, the letters are all rubbed off of it, and I got the 3-step here. I'm going to launch these two because I wanted to get a lot out in the market. So then I consulted an attorney friend, and he said, "Are you trademarking these?" And have you investigated? I said, "Yeah, I have." And I said, "The Everready trademark's gone." So we re-trademarked that ourselves. So we'll own that. Actually, we own it as of January 17th. The certificate was sent out. We now own Everready, and we'll own
Oh,
Simon, Merit, and Cleanso probably by May of this year. So you got to go through a process, and it costs money. And long story short, I said, I'm going to protect myself if I'm going to be investing this money here. But for me, it was a labor of love, guys, because it's not, I mean, it could be a nice little side income, but the problem is you got to sell so many to break even. And then once you break even, you sit and you wait because everybody that's purchased already, they're gone. You've used up the world. That's why I was telling you earlier, I had to reach out to West Coast Shaving to try to get more exposure for the brand. So hopefully that will pay off, which if it does, great. My main goal was to just get off my credit and not have to keep going back to the credit to keep purchasing the brushes. And we're close, but we're not there. And I think the Gibbs, which we can talk about here in a little bit, might put us over the edge and keep us going. One of them, I'll say, we're going to come out with a Double Duck 4. And again, another one, it's going to be true to form, but it's going to be in some outrageous vintage colors and then some crazy colors too that I've just done some research and watched the market and saw that they were real popular in other brush models, so why not on the vintage models as well? And then we're also going to come out with an Everready Millennium, a brand new model for Everready, never produced, but using a newer age brush. I guess, like you guys know, you guys like the newer style brushes. It's going to be kind of like the newer style brush, but just have a different Everready logo, like one of the very first Evereadys produced in 50 years, a newer model, basically. Like JR told me, he's like, it's got to be a labor of love, man, because the time that you have to invest. And for me, there was a point, John and Gerard, where I was getting burned out, man. I really was. I was like, it's just too much with running the funeral home full time and then taking this on. But then I kind of got my second wind after this drop of the merit because I saw that people were like, whoa, that's cool. Now I get to own one of those. And that made me feel good because I'm like, okay, now I'm bringing a product back to market that people really couldn't get their hands on. There weren't a lot of them made.
oh,
That was
okay.
the issue of the case. Steemon and Merit were made by Peter J. Michaels, the same company that makes the Steemon and the Merit razor. They were made in like the 40s, 50s. I don't think they made any in the 60s. But the issue is they were just not a lot of them produced. And I think I'm like one of maybe 15 people that I know of in the hobby that owns a Merit. But you pay that hefty price for it. And I paid $313. And the only reason why I did that is because I just had to have one. I mean, I wanted it that bad. It called me crazy, but everybody else that I talked to that has them, they said, "Yeah, man, mine was up there too. I
Yeah.
was around 275."
I mean, the ultimate supply and demand right there, right?
Yes, dude.
15
Well,
people on Earth, to have
yes,
a vintage merit that you know of.
yeah. And I happened to luck out and get one of the aqua, kind of like what do you call it, the teal.
Hmm.
When after I polished it off, and I'm not done with it yet, but that's the thing. That was the frustrating thing for me. I was like, why should we have to go through this? Why can't we just reproduce these and get them into the hands of people and at a reasonable price? You know, we I shot myself in the foot by coming out at $35 the first go around. That killed me. I mean, that set me back. And I did it because I said, you know what? Make $5 a brush and be happy with it. Well, I didn't take into consideration that you got the boxes that you ship them in, you got the paint, you got your time. I was still looking at it like from a hobbyist perspective. And then I shifted focus to the business perspective. And then my attorney was like, look, you're going to have your trademarking costs, Then if you eventually incorporate and you go that route, you're going to start paying taxes. So we figured 45 was a happy medium that we could make a little bit of money, keep us in business, because this isn't I don't have to have the money. That's the good thing about the Heritage Collection. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not in this for a cash grab. I just love getting these brushes myself. If I took you to my shave den, you'd see I got every model that we produce, and I love that because that was the whole reason why I set out to do it. But if I could have done that and maybe not dove into this, I would have done it. But I was told I'm not going to keep making these unless you buy them in bulk quantity. So I figured, well, then maybe everybody else will like them too.
John and I were actually talking maybe a while back, and I brought up to him, before, like, I think when we considered, having you on, is that like Heritage Collection shaving just occupies a very unique space in terms of shaving hardware. Obviously there's a lot of artisans that do custom orders or that do certain things here and there, but you just kind of bringing out these classic vintage models, a new manufacturing process, that they're going to last a long time. The knots are excellent. You can put whichever one you want in there, and like you said, for a relatively reasonable price. Yeah, I think it's very enticing for people that kind of want that. Okay, so just to kind of clarify, just a couple of things, because some people just may not know the types of knots that you offer. So traditionally, let me get this right, it was a boar knot that was in all of the brushes, correct?
No, it was a badger. It was a.
Oh, it was a badger.
It was like the equivalent of Maggard's entry level. I think they
No, I
charged
meant
$25.
the vintage brushes.
Yeah. No, it was a 2-band bolt. Let me show you. I got one here. It was this, and I started playing around with this too, and I love the look of this. But it was this 2-band bore, not that because you see them on a lot of the old ones where they're wore down to the after years of use, they get wore down to the black part. And then there were some that it would say pure badger on it, or they started up in their game and getting into the badger hairs, but for the most part they were all boar, and a lot of them were this banded boar that they
banded
call
boars. Okay, so I mean, I can't really speak for everyone because obviously everyone has different tastes. The thing that got me into it, I think I have like 3 or 4 year brushes, but on my 200 that I have from you, I have a badger, and then like you'd mentioned on the Merit that I have from you, I have your gel tip boar, and I really just like that classic look with the boar knot in it. I'm always one that I think options are just good in general. That's just kind of how I am. Offering what the market wants is nice, but also, maybe having a small batch of what you want to experiment with, like the gel tip bore. I think a lot of bore users, will say, well, why do you need to do that? You could just break it in, whether it's the cold water method, for like a day, and then, to break in those hairs. But I found, I feel like I need to use it a bit more, but just the face feel is just really nice.
Very soft, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not like I have another Omega brush that I've broken in, and it's just very much face feel is just really, really nice, and it's very unique, at least for me, because I've used like gel tip badgers as well, and just kind of the splay of the boar, kind of like the extra backbone with it. It's just again a different flavor, for the market in itself. So I think if people are interested in it, at the very least, kind of how I was, I'm just like, oh, sure, I'll experiment with it, because it's kind of just like what I wanted. I didn't know if I wanted a gel tip boar, but I don't regret getting it because it's kind of just like this something new. And I think there's always room for that, maybe in the long run, hopefully those, people will be interested in gel tip boar from you. The demand for that will go up. But at the same time, I just think, the market right now, everyone just loves badgers, like super high density badgers, and whatnot. And they're kind of the in thing, or gel tipped in general.
Hmm.
Um, and that's where you can go.
Well, we sold 10 of them in 2 days this past weekend when I put that post out. Because
Oh, the
again,
gel tip boards?
curiosity is what did it. Yeah, they. I picked up 10 of them, and I said, well, let me just go ahead and gel one and just show everybody again. Put another post out there like I did when you caught it, and all of a sudden, people were just like, yeah, I want to try it. I want to try it. So I ended up selling 10 of them, and I'm trying to give it at a reasonable price because there's time in it. And this is another thing. I gotta rewind a little bit because the gelling process, America, if I'm not going to disclose what I do, but if America knew what the Chinese were doing as far, we were being duped. Well, the guy that I get my knots from, he just hates gel badgers, hates them. He said it destroy, and he's right. He said it destroys the hair to get that luxury feel to it. He said, and it's too much of a waste of time for not much return on the investment. So he said, I'm just not going to do it. He said, but I'll tell you how to do it. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'll tell you how to do it. So he gave me his method. So I said, okay, well, I'll take that method. And then I expanded on it. I did a little bit of experimentation, testing. And don't get me wrong, I tore up some badger. I mean, destroyed them just to get to a point where I can guarantee the community a gel tip badger if they want one. So I tried it by doing a whole bunch of them and just offering that. Well, that was not really a disaster. It was just too time consuming. And there's some people that they just don't want a gel badger, or they don't want a gel badger. They would just rather say, I just give me a two band or a silver tip. So now what I've done is I've gone to, okay, you can have a regular, and if you want the service, I'll individually gel your badger hair for you, give you one-on-one service, and I'll charge you a little bit more premium for doing that for your badger. And it slowed me down to the point where I'm producing them 1, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, instead of like 40 at a time, and get them ready for market. And they turn out a lot better. It was a mistake that the Chinese made when they did it, and it became a great thing for America. But then ever since then, they're mass producing them. But I found that I'm producing a little bit better gel knot by doing them one by one, and then going through a couple extra steps that may be cumbersome for the manufacturers in China, but it ends up producing a really, really nice, soft, luxurious gel tip, and it's not too slimy. I've perfected it to where I can put it out in the market and not worry about it. But again, that was a couple, because it's a whole different hair altogether. That's another one that I had to change my method and make sure what I was doing to the hairs was the correct thing and not destroy them. So I could actually put a decent product in the market and it hold up and still give that gel feel. And really what it is, John, you said it best. It's taken the wait time of like a year to break in a bore and doing it instantly. But it's also making the fibers nice and soft and luxurious, like kind of like a wet. I told my wife it's like a wet mop you're running on. I don't know, it's weird. It's a great feel.
It's just like and I've used this analogy like with anything. Some people just like different flavors of ice cream.
Yeah.
Right. And and so or if you could make the analogy for like cars, like some people are just into vintage cars. Even though like some stuff is faster, more like like nicer, technically whatever. Like nowadays, I think it's kind of the same thing with that. Especially with brushes. And like I said, I don't think anyone was asking for a gel bore, right?
No.
And so you're just like, screw it, let's just do it, and let's just see where this goes. If it's terrible, then it's terrible, right? I learned something, but it's nice. It's just different because it's kind of hard to explain it, to someone who hasn't used it. Like as far as my like just having a little bit more backbone, that super soft face feel, and it's just it's the most unique brush I have because it doesn't feel like any of the other brushes that I have.
You got to experience it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
How would you guys describe the scrubbiness of a gel board? That's what my head can't wrap around, because gel equals extra softness, but you're using a bore because you want the scrubbiness. So what's the deal with that?
For me, and Neil, like you can maybe pick up, like I get no scrubbiness. Like, you know, like Neil mentioned it like a wet mop, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite that soaky floppy, but it feels kind of like that, on your face. So like, yeah, I get very little to no scrubbiness, but because I think of the backbone with it that I have in my brush, you're just able to kind of like, develop that lather on your face pretty well. I don't think I've used a bowl with mine. I've just tried to go like directly, like do face lathers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've just had, pretty good success in developing it. And it's a great painter. It's just very, very different compared to some of the other like Badger offerings that, and things out there, at least for me.
Sure. Even folks who have bought a brush from you don't know kind of this great behind the scenes look, right? So both that you're a wet shaver, you're an enthusiast, you're a vintage collector, but also you kind of wanted to give something back to the community, so you dove into the business side, and of course you shared mistakes that were made, and kind of like tweaking it so that it's still enjoyable to you. But I feel like stuff like with the trademark and even like having the foresight to go to a lawyer, I bet you most folks didn't know that you trademarked Everready and Simon and that kind of detail. Like I think that's just going to be very revealing to folks, especially if folks who might be like just thinking you're copying something and then with no acknowledgement of the original company, or if they think it's disrespectful or whatever. I think by pursuing the trademark, by doing it like you said, by doing it legitimately and above board, I feel like that should give people extra confidence to like, okay, I can't find this brush or that brush, but this is great, especially if I get it in some sort of new contemporary color or whatever. So I think it's just a lot of information that obviously but maybe haven't had the platform to kind of share that story. So I'm just really glad to kind of get those really interesting details.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. That was just a business decision because I felt, okay, if you're going to do this for the long term, somebody else is going to try to do it, and just at least if you're gonna put out these models, trademark the ones that you're doing so you can protect yourself. And I'm not going to go after every single model. I mean, there's so many of them out there, but I'm handpicking the ones that are hard to get, that are sought after, and they're actually unique in their looks too. So, but yes, this has actually become a business, and for me, I still have that labor of love, because I get so mad at DHL sometimes when I'm like, when is my shipment going to be here? They said it would be here by 3. My wife's like, calm down, the brushes will be here. Calm down, calm down. And I had to get special permits to import badger hair. That was another thing that I had to do. And then again, I just had to use my business skills to keep it going, because if I don't treat it like a business, it's not going to be around. It's going to, I'll either run out of capital and I'll be sitting here with a ton of brushes.
You had mentioned how just in terms of individual brushes and kind of the uniqueness in the manufacturing process, the prices may vary in between them. Like, with the Merit, it's the fluting, as opposed to something like maybe the 200, where the shape isn't that difficult or that cumbersome to do, right? And so, as far as like in the future, I mean, I'm sure that would just contribute to being a factor. Saying, hey, if it's going to be a little bit more, it's because of the manufacturing process. Just took more time, to get these at fair price, and things like that.
The Merit's the only one that I encountered that on. Everything else has been pretty much the same. So and I don't anticipate that happening unless there's a model out there that, like, if I switch and I go to like a wood bottom handle, and because I'm sure some people have asked about those. Hey, would you do like a wood bottom, or the old aluminum top Eveready with the small wood handle from back in the 1910s and 15s or whatever it was. Right now, I'm just sticking with the acrylic. Same stuff everybody else is using because it's the most durable. And
Thank you so much for just kind of walking us through kind of the history of Heritage Collection shaving, and it's been fun to listen. But what's in the future? What's the vision for Heritage Collection shaving in the next year or 5 years and beyond from now?
Okay, so we'll start with a year. So let's say for this year, since this is our second, it's not our first full year. We're 6 months into the business, but this will be our first full year. I want to continue to try and put out, some more consistent color offerings to where you're not just seeing a bunch of stuff out in the market, like 1 month or one drop it's a purple and a bunch of reds and greens, and then one drop it's this color or that color. I want to try to streamline it and get it down to maybe 6 to 8, maybe 10 at the most really good colors, and stay very consistent. Come out with some more models, but also I want to get the business to the point to where my risk is at a minimum, because I'm almost there to where I'm at a break-even point for the business. I get to the break-even point for the brush purchase, but I'm not at the break-even point for the business. And once I get to that point, I think then I'll start to open up a little bit more. I'm dumping everything back into the business itself. Like I said, with the trademarking, with trying to have strategic alliances with like West Coast Shaving and places like that, trying to up the game and scale the business if the community will support it enough and allow me to do so. I think that eventually we're just going to be one of those brands that maybe will cross over into some of the vintage razors like we are too. And I've got another razor besides the Gibbs I don't want to disclose it yet, but it's on the back burner, and it's another one that's hard to get that I just got to be careful with trademarking issues, but I've explored it. We can get it done, and I'd like to bring that to market too, maybe next year.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just enjoying it, guys. I love it. I love everybody in the community. Guys like yourself, everybody's been great. One thing that I got involved in were some collabs, and not saying they were good or bad, but I kind of want to shy away from collabs because I would rather just focus on being the best Heritage Collection shaving that I can be, and not to water down my brand with intermingling with other brands. I'll help artisans any way I can, like, giving away a couple brushes to help promote their soaps or things of that nature. But I think from here forward, I think I got involved in one more collab that's coming out, and I think I'm probably going to just migrate to just kind of doing things on my own and just focusing on putting the money back into the business, producing some really, really cool, great vintage products, and just doing my part as an artisan. And man, this has been great, guys. I've really enjoyed being on here with both of you.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you, Neil. I guess since we're wrapping up here, Neil, can you tell people where they can find both your website and where they can find you on social media?
So yeah, I'm on Instagram at Heritage Collection Shaving. Facebook, we've got a Facebook page that's kind of taken off as well. You can find me by my name on Facebook, and then you can also find our website, www.heritagecollectionshaving.com. And also, I want to just let the community know, just please be patient with me over the next 3 months or so, because we got a lot going on, and you're just going to have to keep checking the website to see, what models are out. I'm doing a lot of going through some growing pains, so to speak. So if you don't see something that you're wanting, maybe check back a month later and it might be there. So that's all I just want to get across the community is, hey, look, I'm doing the best to get everybody what they want and, what their desires are. So again, I really thank you guys for this opportunity.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to see what you have in store for this year. And I think I just want to wish you good luck. I know every business goes through growing pains. So, in the coming months, hopefully those can get settled, those matters get settled. And really, I think you have such a creative eye as far as, what brushes you're bringing to market and the color combinations you offer. So really, Neil, we're rooting for you.
Thank you, John. And likewise, man, you guys got a good thing going. And I think it's great for the community to be able to take two guys that are passionate about the shaving hobby and have been in it long enough to know what's going on and helping artisans like myself, get our name out there and expose it. So kudos to you guys on Lather Talk. I just absolutely love it, man.
Thank you for listening to Lather Talk. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your time and support and hope to catch you next episode.